You're watching Narrify.
I never imagined my life could fall apart in just a few months. Everything I built, every sleepless night, every effort seemed meaningless now. And it all started when I trusted her. Her name was Nisha. To the outside world, she was charming, caring, and the kind of woman anyone would want to spend their life with. But behind that perfectly crafted smile was a storm I didn't see coming. We met at a work conference. I was there representing my company, and she was there too, but she didn't introduce herself formally. She had this aura, effortless confidence that made people notice her without even trying. I didn't know it then, but that same charm would become my undoing. First, it was innocent. Coffee chats, small talk, a few shared jokes. Her voice was smooth, persuasive, almost hypnotic. She asked about my dreams, my life, my ambitions. I told her everything because I thought she cared. And maybe she did, but only so she could use it later. Started small. My friends warned me to be careful, but I laughed it off. I thought I knew her, thought I could see through people. Couldn't. She began to subtly undermine me at work. Nothing obvious, just little things. Misplaced emails, forgotten introductions, and the way she would compliment others in front of me while sneaking a smirk at me. I thought it was just competition, just office politics. I didn't realize it was personal, and it was calculated. At home, things weren't much better. Nisha had this way of making me doubt my own mind. She'd mention things I didn't say, twist my words, and then present herself as the innocent victim. Everyone, including her family and my friends who knew her casually, believed her. I started to feel isolated, even in my own home. The turning point came when she invited me to dinner under the pretext of discussing our relationship. I was exhausted but agreed, thinking it would be a chance to fix things. What I didn't know was that her boss, a man I had always respected, was already part of her plan. Nisha had spun stories, lies about me being controlling, about my supposed insecurities. And at that dinner, I saw the first glint of their secret understanding. Too subtle for anyone else to notice, but enough for me to sense that something was wrong. She smiled at him in a way that made my blood boil. But when I confronted her, she turned the story around. "You're imagining things. Why can't you trust me?" And of course, I believed her. I wanted to. I wanted to trust her more than anything else in this world. Soon, the manipulation moved from subtle to catastrophic. She began convincing my family that I was the problem. Volatile, unreasonable, paranoid. Even my closest friends started to distance themselves, swayed by her words. She painted a picture where she was the victim, and I was the villain in every scene. I lost my financial security first. She had access to our joint accounts, credit cards, and slowly drained them. Every attempt I made to stop her was met with accusations, tears, and threats to go to the authorities. Her family always backing her, claiming I was violent or deceitful. Then came the ultimate betrayal. My house, the place where I had dreamed of a happy life, was signed over in her favor without my full understanding. She had manipulated legal documents, coerced signatures, and even my lawyer seemed blinded by her charm and cunning. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. Her friends, always smiling and supportive around her, were now the walls closing in on me. Nobody would help. Nobody even questioned her version of events. I was alone. Work, the place I had always taken pride in, became a battlefield I didn't even realize I had entered. Nisha had always been ambitious, but I thought her ambition was harmless. I was wrong. It started subtly. Projects I had meticulously planned suddenly went off track. Emails I sent vanished from inboxes, presentations lost their files, and deadlines slipped despite my best efforts. I was blamed for missed opportunities, even though the root cause was always her. She was always there, smiling, helping, supporting me in front of colleagues, while secretly undermining me behind closed doors. She would whisper to my boss, "I don't know why he can't handle this. Maybe I should step in." And of course, my boss trusted her judgment. Her manipulation wasn't just limited to me. She had this way of charming everyone around her. Coworkers who once respected me now questioned my competence. She made it seem like I was unstable, incapable of handling pressure. Every misstep, no matter how small, was magnified into a catastrophe, and she was always there to help clean up the mess. I turned to my friends for support. Surely they would see through her schemes. But Nisha had prepared for that too. She had spent months carefully planting seeds of doubt. One by one, my friends began to avoid me, citing vague reasons. "You've changed. I don't think you're happy together." Or worse, she told me things. "I think you should listen." And listen, I did. I wanted to trust my friend's judgment. But they weren't judging the facts. They were judging her story, the one she had rehearsed and perfected. It hurt more than anything else. People I had confided in, people I had celebrated with, now turned their backs, believing the woman who had destroyed my life was the innocent victim. I felt betrayed on every level. If my friends had abandoned me, my family became a wall of ice. Nisha had skillfully convinced them I was dangerous, volatile, irresponsible, even cruel. Her family echoed her narrative, accusing me of trying to control her, of hiding things from her, of threatening her security. Legal threats came next. Nisha's parents, lawyers, and friends became a united front against me. Every call I made to explain myself was twisted. Every attempt to reach out, to reason, was framed as harassment. I watched helplessly as my world crumbled. I lost my home first. Documents were signed, agreements pushed through. Even when I tried to fight back legally, the evidence seemed to favor her. She had prepared every step carefully. Money moved, signatures acquired, witnesses subtly influenced. My lawyer told me bluntly, "She has everyone on her side. You're fighting a losing battle." I started to lose myself. Anxiety consumed my nights. Paranoia filled my days. Every knock at the door, every message, every phone call seemed like another trap. My friends had turned into strangers. My family treated me like a criminal. Even the streets I once walked confidently now felt hostile. I replayed every memory with Nisha in my mind. Coffee chats, the smiles, the small gestures I had thought were love. Were they ever real? Or was it all just preparation? Every thought led to anger, despair, and a sense of utter helplessness. While I was drowning, Nisha was building something bigger. She had taken control of my finances, my house, my social image, and even my professional reputation. She had contacts, people who would testify against me if needed. And then, I discovered her most shocking secret. She had been involved with her boss from the very beginning. Every innocent meeting, every late-night discussion, every work emergency she cited was part of a meticulous plan. They had been working together to isolate me, discredit me, and take everything I had. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. This wasn't just manipulation, it was a conspiracy. And I was the victim at the center of it, alone, cornered, and powerless. I tried everything. Pleading, exposing her lies, appealing to her family, but it was no use. She had them convinced, rehearsed every story, anticipated every defense I might raise. One day, I walked into my home for the last time. The locks had changed. My belongings were gone. My house, my sanctuary, was now hers. And she stood there, smiling, confident, untouchable. Her friends clapped. Her family cheered quietly. Her boss gave a nod of approval. I realized then that I had lost everything. Home, money, trust, reputation, and even the people who once loved me. After losing everything, I wandered through life like a ghost. Friends, family, home, job gone. The only thing left was a hollow, aching realization of how thoroughly I had been deceived. Nights were the worst. Memories of her smile, the warmth I once felt, now twisted into reminders of betrayal. But despair can be a strange motivator. With nothing left to lose, I decided I had to survive. I found a small, rented room in the outskirts of the city. Every item I owned was either taken or sold. Even my career seemed irretrievably damaged, but I refused to vanish completely. I started working odd jobs, freelance work, small contracts, anything to keep me afloat. Every interaction was a reminder of what I had lost, but slowly, I began to rebuild the barest fragments of my life. I learned caution, vigilance, and self-reliance. Trust became a luxury I couldn't afford. From a distance, I watched Nisha flourish. Social media posts flaunted her successes, pictures of my home posted with her smiling face, and occasional updates showing her laughing with friends who had abandoned me. It was infuriating. Every victory of hers felt like a dagger to my chest. Her boss seemed loyal to her, promoting her, praising her as if she were the golden employee, the perfect wife, the model of innocence. Even the legal system had been swayed. When I tried to challenge her, courts favored her claims, citing my alleged instability and aggression. I realized then, she didn't just destroy me personally, she had dismantled my identity. She had taken the man I was and replaced him with someone unrecognizable. The betrayal of friends cut deeper than her manipulations. People I had celebrated birthdays with, people I had stood by in moments of crisis, were now shadows in her world. They smiled politely when I crossed paths, never acknowledging the truth I knew. I confronted one of them once, a friend I had trusted above all. "Why?" I asked. "Why did you believe her and not me?" Their response was chillingly calm. "She's just more convincing." I don't know what to say. I didn't want to be in the middle. Not in the middle. That was their excuse for abandoning me. And in that moment, I understood the brutal reality. Trust is a fragile thing, and some people will abandon even their closest allies if persuaded the right way. Over time, I started gathering fragments of her life that no one else seemed to notice. Late-night calls with unknown numbers, private messages hidden behind her cheerful facade, and financial transactions that didn't add up. I realized she wasn't invincible. There were cracks. She had carefully orchestrated everything for her gain. My downfall, her rise. But she had grown careless, overconfident. That arrogance could be her undoing. I began documenting everything. Conversations, transactions, patterns of behavior. It became a plan not just to survive but to expose her, piece by piece. I knew it would take time, patience, and strategy, but I was determined. The man who had lost everything was no longer helpless. I didn't confront her directly at first. That would have been foolish. Instead, I started planting seeds, questions to her friends, subtle hints to colleagues, tracing inconsistencies in her stories. Slowly, I noticed her charm beginning to waver under pressure. Her friends, once loyal, started doubting her small lies. Her boss, who had admired her so much, began questioning minor discrepancies in reports. She didn't notice yet that the man she had destroyed was quietly building the foundations of a counterattack. It was intoxicating in a dark way, watching her perfect world begin to tremble. But I knew patience was key. One wrong move and I could lose everything again. Even as I plotted, the emotional scars remained. Memories of her smiles, her laughter, haunted me. I questioned myself constantly. Did I love her? Did I truly trust her? How could someone manipulate me so completely? Sleep became erratic. Every noise in my small apartment made me tense. Anxiety gripped me, but it no longer paralyzed me, fueled me. I would not allow her to win entirely. I would not allow myself to disappear quietly. And yet, part of me mourned. The love I had once believed in, the dreams we had shared, even if they had been an illusion, were gone. Rebuilding life wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity. Months passed. My careful observation revealed a shocking truth. Nisha had secretly siphoned funds from the company accounts into her personal accounts. Not huge amounts, small, clever manipulations, but enough to incriminate her if evidence was collected. I also discovered her. Relationships with people I had trusted professionally were not as innocent as they seemed. She had been playing a game far bigger than I had realized. And the more I learned, the clearer it became. She could be stopped, but stopping her meant risk. One false move and I would be accused again, laughed at, dismissed. The stakes were higher than ever. By now, Nisha sensed a change. I could feel it in the interactions. Slight hesitation in her smile, subtle defensiveness when I spoke, and almost imperceptible fear when I observed her. It was exhilarating and terrifying. This wasn't just about money or reputation anymore, it was about power. The manipulation, the lies, the betrayals, they had all built to this moment. And she didn't know it yet. The man she thought she had destroyed was quietly reclaiming control. Every interaction became a chess game. I anticipated her moves, countered them silently, leaving her unaware that her empire of deception had weak points. It all came to a head one rainy evening. I had gathered enough evidence, financial records, emails, witness accounts, even subtle admissions from her. Friends who were now quietly questioning her actions. I knew I couldn't just let her continue. I arranged to meet her at a cafe, the place where our relationship had first felt innocent. The irony wasn't lost on me. I entered cautiously, not as a defeated man, but as someone who had survived hell and was now armed with truth. She greeted me with the same perfect smile, the one that had fooled so many. "It's been a while," she said sweetly, sitting down as if nothing had happened. I didn't smile. "Yes, it has," I replied, sliding a folder across the table. Inside were copies of bank transactions, emails, screenshots of conversations, and financial irregularities tied directly to her. Her eyes flickered. For a split second, the mask faltered. "What is this?" she asked, voice carefully neutral. "This," I said, "is everything you tried to hide, everything you stole, manipulated, and twisted to destroy me." She laughed lightly, but there was a tension beneath it. "You'll never prove anything," she said. "Everyone believes me." "Not anymore," I said, voice steady. "Your friends are questioning you. Your boss is noticing discrepancies. And the legal system will see this." For the first time, she seemed rattled. Her confident composure cracked, revealing the cunning woman I had feared and admired in equal measure. You think you can ruin me?" she asked, venom creeping into her tone. "I'm not trying to ruin you," I said calmly. "I'm just making sure the truth is known. You can't manipulate everyone forever." Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it nervously. I knew that text was from a friend or colleague now questioning her story. I saw a panic flash in her eyes, something I had never seen before. "You think this changes anything?" she whispered, almost to herself. "I still have everyone on my side." I leaned forward. "Not all of them. And the more you fight the truth, the more it will crush you." In the days that followed, my subtle work paid off. Friends who had abandoned me began coming forward, unsure at first but willing to hear evidence. Colleagues who had been silently suspicious started speaking up. Even some family members began to question the narrative they had blindly accepted. Nisha tried to spin the story, as she always did, but this time, no one believed her. The intricate web she had built began unraveling thread by thread. The lies she had perfected over months, years perhaps, could no longer hold against proof. The battle was as much mental as it was legal or social. Every interaction became a test of endurance. She would try to provoke me, gaslight me, intimidate me with smiles, veiled threats, and rumors. But I was no longer the man who blindly trusted her. I had learned caution, patience, and observation. I responded with calm, letting her make mistakes, letting her reveal her own patterns of deception. Each misstep she made added to the evidence I quietly amassed. Watching her slowly panic, realizing that the walls she had built around her life were not as secure as she believed, brought a grim satisfaction, a quiet acknowledgement that justice, in some form, was inevitable. The court case was a storm. Nisha's lawyers argued skillfully, painting me as vindictive, unstable, and obsessed. But the evidence I had collected, the witnesses willing to testify, and the financial records all spoke for themselves. Her charm, which had fooled so many before, fell flat in the face of objective truth. The judge, initially skeptical of my claims, began questioning her credibility. Her allies, once so unwavering, wavered under scrutiny. For the first time, I felt the scales of justice tip back in my favor. It wasn't a complete victory. Nothing could fully restore the life I had lost, but it was a vindication of sorts. The woman who had destroyed my world could no longer hide behind lies. Nisha's world began collapsing almost immediately. Friends turned against her. Her boss, forced to acknowledge her mismanagement and deceit, began distancing himself. Her family, faced with irrefutable evidence, could no longer blindly support her. The woman who had once been untouchable, the architect of my misery, now faced isolation and exposure. Her confidence cracked under scrutiny, her manipulations exposed for everyone to see. Yet even in her downfall, she retained a cruel resilience. She smiled, made excuses, tried to charm her way out, but no one listened. Her empire of deception was crumbling, and she knew it. As for me, victory was hollow. The life I had lost could not be restored. Friends who had abandoned me would never return. My home, once a sanctuary, remained a memory. The love I had believed in, the trust one had given freely, had been poisoned beyond repair. But there was a quiet satisfaction in knowing the truth had emerged. She could no longer manipulate, deceive, or destroy without consequence. And while my wounds ran deep, I had survived, rebuilt my dignity, and reclaimed a measure of control over my life. I learned the harshest truth of all. Some people will destroy you without remorse, and sometimes, the world will turn against you while they smile. But patience, observation, and truth are powerful tools, even against the most cunning adversaries. In the end, Nisha had lost the one thing she could never truly control, reality itself. And I had survived. Not unscathed, not victorious in the way I had once imagined, but alive, aware, and wary of the masks people wear. Life went on. I rebuilt slowly, cautiously, and never trusted blindly again. The scars of betrayal remained, etched deep into my psyche, but they were also reminders of resilience. Nisha faded from my life, a cautionary tale whispered among colleagues and distant acquaintances. Sometimes, I wondered if she realized that while she had destroyed me in one sense, she had also forged a stronger version of me in the process. Love, trust, betrayal, they are not always simple, and endings are rarely neat. Mine wasn't. Mine was survival, exposure, and the bitter knowledge that even the cleverest deception cannot withstand the patient pursuit of truth. And somewhere, in the shadowed corners of the life she had built on lies, I imagined her finally realizing that some manipulations have consequences, and some victims are far stronger than they appear.